Today, we're tackling a big one, Elon Musk.
Hmm.
Specifically, his recent deep dive into Washington and the potential shockwaves hitting Tesla.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It seems like quite the collision course.
It does. We've sifted through some compelling material, notably an MSNBC analysis that looks at reports from the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post.
Right, some solid sources.
And our goal for you listening is really just to distill the critical developments.
Figure out the challenges Musk seems to be running into.
And grasp the possible ramifications for Tesla, his EV giant, and, well, his broader influence.
Basically, think of this as your rapid immersion, get you up to speed quickly on a complex story.
Exactly. So where should we start? The Tesla angle seems pretty dramatic right now.
Okay, yeah, let's kick off there.
Yeah.
Because the narrative emerging really hinges on this idea of a collision, like you said. We're seeing significant turbulence for Tesla in the market, and it seems, well, intertwined with Musk's political role.
Absolutely. The Wall Street Journal data paints a stark picture, doesn't it?
It really does.
A really tough run for Tesla this year. Stock's down, what, 44% in 2025 alone?
A huge plunge. And not just a slow bleed either.
No. They had that sharp 5.8% fall in just one day recently.
And falling out of the top 10 U.S. companies by market value.
Right. For the first time since June of last year, that's a big shift.
It is. And the reasons cited are key here. Slower sales, obviously.
Which could be market conditions, sure.
True. But also this mention of a damaged brand. That's where it gets interesting, connecting it back to Musk.
That's the crux, isn't it? How much are these two worlds, business and his politics, hitting each other?
Exactly. The MSNBC piece directly suggests that this damaged brand perception might stem from his visible role in the Trump administration.
The idea being that this political alignment could be pushing some customers away.
Yeah, it raises questions about that whole relationship between a CEO's politics and consumer choice. It's getting more complex.
Definitely. And the timing here is crucial, too.
With the earnings report.
Yeah, due tomorrow, Tuesday. Analysts are already expecting profits to be down year over year.
Which feels like it could be a potential tipping point, doesn't it? Adds another layer of pressure.
Precisely. The Washington Post even suggested that a weak earnings report could give Musk a sort of escape hatch.
A business rationale, they called it.
Right, a reason to maybe pull back from Washington without it looking purely political.
Okay, so that sets the stage on the Tesla side. But why is he supposedly struggling so much in Washington? You'd think his, disruption background might translate.
Well, the reports certainly don't paint it that way. They describe his time there as starting badly and getting worse.
Ouch.
And his big initiative, the Department of Government Efficiency DOGE, seems to be Exhibit A.
Ah, yes, DOGE. What are the reports saying went wrong there?
Pretty much everything, it sounds like. Characterized as an embarrassment, full of errors, just general confusion.
Not exactly efficient, then.
Hardly. And the irony is, its goal was cutting spending. But the reports claim the Trump administration was actually spending more daily than Biden's had.
Wow. So it failed on its primary mission. That's significant.
It is. It makes you wonder about the data disconnect, too.
You mean the 150-year-olds getting Social Security claim?
Yeah, that example.
Yeah.
It highlights a misunderstanding of basic government data, apparently. How does that happen with someone usually so data-focused?
Good question. Maybe translating business thinking to government complexity isn't straightforward.
Seems that way. And then you had the internal White House stuff leaking out.
Right, the anonymous sources talking to the press, like Rolling Stone.
Yeah, describing Musk as maybe impaired or even, quote, the most annoying person on the planet.
Which, okay, anonymous sources, grain of salt, always.
Sure.
But leaks like that often signal some real friction, some deeper sentiment bubbling up.
And it fits with that other story, the Pentagon briefing attempt.
Oh, right, the China war plans thing that the New York Times reported on that?
He tried to get this top-secret briefing, but Trump apparently didn't even know about it, and then canceled it.
Yeah, that suggests maybe a lack of coordination, or Musk maybe overestimating his access or influence.
Definitely raises questions.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just inside the Beltway, right? His political plays outside D.C. also seemed to stumble.
Like the Wisconsin Supreme Court race.
Exactly. He apparently went all in, spent big, made appearances.
And his candidate lost by double digits.
Yeah. Which then gets framed as a sort of referendum on Musk himself.
That's the risk when you tie yourself so publicly to a race, I suppose. And wasn't there something with the IRS, too?
Yeah. He apparently got his pick installed as acting IRS commissioner.
Only for the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to basically step in and remove the guy 2 days later.
Yeah. Again, suggests a gap between his expected influence and the, established processes.
Absolutely. Then there's the whole tariffs issue.
Right. He was publicly against Trump's tariffs, loud about it.
But they stayed and reportedly hurt Tesla with higher costs.
Yep. And then the feud with Peter Navarro.
Where Trump apparently sided with Navarro over Musk. Another sign his policy advice wasn't landing, maybe.
Seems like it. And maybe the most telling thing, according to these reports.
Let me guess. The 5 things email.
That's the one. The tell me 5 things you did last week email to government agencies. Apparently, lots of agencies are just ignoring it.
Wow. If true, that really suggests his authority or the perception of it has seriously eroded. Why even bother sending it if no one's acting on it?
Good question. It all seems to feed into what MSNBC called this massive public revulsion.
Towards his role in the administration and U.S. politics generally.
Yeah, and linking that directly to why the Tesla brand and his personal brand are being seen as potentially toxic.
It really shows how tangled these worlds, business, politics, public image can get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to tomorrow's earnings report.
Right. If it's weak, it suddenly looks like a very convenient, purely business reason for him to step back a bit from D.C.
Without having to say, oh, things didn't quite work out in Washington.
Exactly. A business excuse, like the Post suggested.
So, wrapping this part up.
Yeah.
We're seeing Tesla facing real market challenges.
Significant headwinds.
At the same time that Musk's Washington efforts are being reported as, well, fraught with missteps and generating negative reactions.
Yeah, the timing is undeniable.
So the big question hanging in the air is, will this upcoming earnings report be the catalyst? Will it provide that business-focused justification for him to reduce his political profile?
It's the key thing to watch right now, and it leads to a broader thought, maybe for you listening, to mull over.
Yeah.
Well, seeing how tightly business, politics, and public perception are linked here, what does this whole situation tell us about the risks and rewards for really high-profile people who operate in all these arenas?
That's interesting. Are there pitfalls that are just unavoidable when you try to juggle that kind of influence across different worlds?
Right. Can you think of other examples where someone's personal brand or their political moves really impacted their company, for better or worse?
It's definitely something to think about, that interplay, especially as this story keeps developing.